What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be discussing the Detroit Lions game plan heading into Pack Week, so let's get it started.
You know, I got to shout out DoseOfDion, man, because it was actually the first time I went live on YouTube. And, you know, guys don't know DoseOfDion. He put out a lot of good content for the Detroit Lions.
Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And as I said in the intro, man, it is Pack Week, baby. We are going to be trying to take down our other divisional rival this weekend in the Green Bay Packers. And last week, I did a little bit of a game plan video. I talked about how the Lions could score offensively, what were going to be the key components in that game to be successful. And I felt like there were some accurate things. I mean, sure, I wasn't 100% on everything I said, but I felt like there was some accurate things that I did say. And in this video, we are fortunate because we have film on the Green Bay Packers from this season. We got to see the Green Bay Packers take on the Minnesota Vikings in a very depleted defense in Minnesota at best. And in that game, the Green Bay Packers went off. They dropped 43 points offensively. They won that game 43-34. But I was able to go back and watch that entire game and see what the Green Bay Packers did. And I feel like I have a lot of good things here. So we're at least going to break this into two parts, one defense and one offense. And in this video, we're focusing on that defense for the Lions and how in the world the Lions are going to stop that Packers offense. Now, one thing I do have to mention before we get it started is that cornerback position. The Detroit Lions cornerback position is super depleted. If you guys want to know more about that, check out the video I just uploaded. But that is going to be super, super important is for the Lions to find a way to help out that cornerback group. If they cannot get healthy, keep in mind the Lions will probably be adding some secondary players very, very soon. All right, now let's get into today's video. I feel like I have some really good stuff here. We're really going to break it down for the Green Bay Packers. And like I said, they went off against Minnesota on Sunday. Green Bay Packers put up 43 points on the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Rodgers had a crazy good game, 364 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. It seemed like there was no answer for the Vikings. Well, early in the game, the Vikings were able to get a couple of stops. They got some red zone stops. They forced the Packers off the field. They forced a couple of field goals. And let me say, if they didn't do that, they would have easily given up 50 points in this game. Because, hey, they got some stops early, and it still got pretty darn ugly. And honestly, it probably shouldn't have been this bad. Because before half, it was a pretty well-contested game. I mean, the Vikings gave up a safety, but they weren't doing too bad. It was 8-7 at one point. But all of a sudden, we saw an interception by Kirk Cousins. And it kind of just made it even worse. After a 7-15 game, he threw a pick, and the Packers scored again. And all of a sudden, now instead of being down by 8, you're down by 12 at half because they got a field goal, and it was 22-10. And then after that, it kind of just started to open things up. So this game definitely could have been much worse, but it probably could have been better as well. So we're going to break down this Packers offense, man. We're going to break down what they're going to look to do, where they like to attack, their personnel, what the Lions need to look out for, and how the Lions can beat this team, how they can slow them down, because they're going to put up points. But the question is how many. Let's start off with the personnel because I think it's important to know who you're going up against. Of course, we're going against Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback. We know that. We know what he can do. All right, we know Aaron Rodgers. Offensive line, they dealt with some injuries in the last game, and that was probably one of the worst parts for the Green Bay Packers. Now, these injuries don't seem to be too serious. They dealt with an injury to Patrick Lucas with a shoulder injury. Also, Lane Taylor with a knee injury. Both of those guys are guards. They do have Corey Linsley, David Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins. I think Billy Turner was out of the game, and that's why they had, I think it was Patrick Lucas starting. So they had a couple of injuries on the offensive line, but they may not be too serious. They could be back for week number 2, so keep that in mind. At the tight end position, they have some threats. Jay Sternberger, who is no longer a rookie anymore, but Jay Sternberger. They have Mercedes Lewis. They have some solid players here. They have Tony and Jr., but they just really look for mismatches with tight ends. They really look for mismatches here, trying to get them on linebackers, things like that. But it's not the most talented tight end group. Not at all. Not the most talented tight end group. At the running back position, they have Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, A.J. Dillon, who they drafted this year, and Irvin Swervin. Irvin Swervin, baby. You got to keep out for Irvin. I think that is one of the X factors heading into this one. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, they pretty much do it all. Okay, no matter where they're out in the field, they can pretty much do everything. So there's really not a giveaway when they're on the field. However, with A.J. Dillon, who is their power back, when you see him on the field, you're going to expect a lot more of I formations, a lot more tight ends, a lot of closer, tighter sets, and a lot more power running. Now, there's not a ton of power running that comes from Green Bay anyways, but it kind of does give that a little bit more way, less out of the shotgun where they like to play a lot. And with Irvin, you can expect a lot of jet sweeps, counters, a lot of things to the outside, a lot of getting out to the edge. He's kind of like Jason Huntley, a guy that plays both running back, receiver, and returner. So that's kind of what you have to look for the personnel for the Green Bay Packers, and that is extremely important. Look at the score of this game, and we think to ourselves, what happened here, Minnesota? Like, how in the world did you get blown up by this much? How did you give up 43 points? Now, I picked Green Bay going in this game. I thought Green Bay would score a lot. I didn't know they scored 43, but I thought they'd have the advantage in this one because I honestly didn't like Minnesota coming into this game. They had some problems to deal with. First off, Minnesota puts a lot of their stock into their front seven. You can't do everything, but you can put some money in certain places, and they do that in the front seven. They have a good linebacker group. Eric Kendricks was asked to do a lot in that game. They have a good linebacker group, and their defensive line is one of those main parts, but this year just hasn't went well for them. Like our cornerbacks, their defensive line has just not went well. They lost Everson Griffin and Linval Joseph to the offseason, which is already tough on its own. But they thought, hey, maybe we'd be okay because we still have Hunter, who obviously is incredible, super underrated, gets a ton of sacks. We still have Hunter. We bring in Michael Pierce to kind of shore up the interior of that defensive line without Linval Joseph. And we also now bring in Yannick. But that's not how it goes. Michael Pierce, who was one of their bigger free agent signings, goes and decides to opt out of the season, and Hunter is injured. He's placed on IR, so he doesn't play. So really, it's just Yannick, and he's kind of out there alone with some other guys that honestly outplayed him because Yannick had 0 stats in the entire game. They didn't put up a single stat in this game. So, yeah, that's tough. And when most of your money and, resources go to that front seven and it's just not doing much, now all of a sudden you have problems because in the secondary, the cornerback group is where they don't put a lot of their money. They put it at safeties, linebackers, even linebackers, but not really cornerback. They've relied on a lot of rookies. And we're not getting a lot of pressure. Now all of a sudden you're asking rookies to try to hold it down. I mean, I'm saying rookies, I mean rookies across the board. Cameron Dantzler is basically the #1 cornerback this year. I like Cameron Dantzler out of college, but this is a very difficult role, especially against guys like Devontae Adams, who did move all around. Cameron Dantzler, you have Hughes, you have Holton Hill, you have Hand. You are extremely young at the cornerback spot, and that's just a recipe for disaster in week 1 against Aaron Rodgers. You just knew something was not going to go well today or in that game, and it didn't. Now, they did show some big stops early in the red zone, which is big, and that's where the Lions kind of make their money is bend, don't break. We saw that against Chicago for the first 3 quarters. Hopefully, that's the same thing when we play them. That's something to keep an eye on, but yeah, it just kind of got let loose, and all of a sudden they were winning one-on-ones, and it was just a mess. And a lot of it was because, honestly, they were forced to blitz when maybe they didn't want to as much because their defense line couldn't generate that much pressure on its own. Let's hop into what the Green Bay Packers want to do. What does their scheme look like heading into today's game? All right, so let's look at this game. First off, they are an outside offense. What does that mean? They want to get to the edge. They want to attack the edges. They had a lot of success with it last year, and this year is no different. They just try to get everything to the outside. They had the playmakers, Irvin Swervin. They have the playmakers to get the outside. Anthony Lazard. They have Devontae Adams. They're trying to get plays to the edge to make plays on the outside, and that's exactly what they did against Minnesota, and they do it in many different ways. It's not simple. It's not to say we're going to throw it to the outside. No, they do a lot of different things. Jet sweeps. One of the most important things you have to know about Green Bay is they love motioning. Whether or not someone's involved in a play because they motion, doesn't matter. They want to motion. Now, they may motion someone instead of block like a tight end. They may motion receivers as a decoy. They may motion players to actually get the ball. They will motion like crazy. Maybe that helps Rodgers read the defense. Whatever it may be, they're going to be setting players in motion. So if the Lions can disguise things, that may be the best bet here. But you also have to keep an eye on motions because they're coming all the time. And if you don't see it, you're going to mess up. Rodgers is going to have a wide open target. Jet sweeps. Now, I mean jet sweeps. I'm emphasizing jet sweeps. Literally, the Packers ran 3, not fakes. They ran 3 jet sweeps on their first drive against Minnesota. 2 to Anthony Lazard. I'm not making that up. I mean, that's just facts. That's crazy. It sounds crazy, but it's the truth. They want to get everything going to the outside. Screens, wide receiver screens, bubble screens, running back screens, tight end screens, any type of screen you can imagine, they're trying to get happen, okay? Mid screens, whatever it may be, all right? They're trying to get screens, quick little pops, quick bubble screens. A lot of running back screens, where they do like the little fakes where they go to the running back, they come back to the tight end. You're going to see screens a ton against Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. And because of that, you need to be on high alert. You have to be super disciplined not to fall for things. Because if all of a sudden no one's blocking you, it doesn't mean you have a free path to the quarterback. What it does mean is they are setting up a screen. We have to be disciplined. That is read and react. That's read and react coming out of college. We know that. Jason Cornell is pretty good with that. He's not here, though. He's on IR. Read and react is something that you must keep an eye on. Tosses, pitches, a lot of things like that. I formation, pitches, tosses. You're going to see that way more than you're going to see handoffs. You'll see a few handoffs, but that's where they make the money. And again, Minnesota was depleted in the interior, and they didn't do it a lot. They want to get to the outside. Even tosses to A.J. Dillon, pitches to A.J. Dillon out of the I form, he would usually just bring it back in himself. Okay? A lot of these end arounds. I mean, out of the I form, end arounds to receivers. They're trying to get everything to the outside. Everything. So that is one of their main parts of their scheme that you have to understand. When it comes to formations, the formation they're probably in the most is shotgun, followed second, probably closely by single back, and finally the I formation. Those are the three formations that they focus on. That's pretty much the main ones. But for real, a lot out of the shotgun. Kind of looks like sort of a Chiefs offense there, trying to get the outside, utilize their speed. A lot of single back, a lot of shotgun, just trying to spread out an entire defense. Okay, a lot of empty sets. They're just trying to spread that defense out and let Aaron Rodgers work and let all the speed be utilized for this offense. So that's what we have to keep an eye out for. They like versatility with their tight ends. They want tight ends to line up on linebackers. Now, they're not the best tight ends, and I think the Lions will be okay against this tight end group this week. But you got to keep in mind, Devontae Adams can play anywhere at the receiver position. He can line up slot. He can line up on the outside. He can line up at any position at the receiver spot you could ask of him. So you're going to get matchups that you don't necessarily always want. Unless you're going to follow your corners, you're going to have matchups against pretty much every corner you got in the field because they're going to move around and get Devontae some looks. And Devontae Adams last week, I believe, had 14 receptions. Over 150 plus yards. He had over 120 yards receiving, way more than that. He was ridiculous. He was absolutely ridiculous. They just didn't have an answer for him. Hopefully, Lions cornerbacks can get healthy because they're going to need them. Now, a healthy Lions, a healthy Vikings, and a healthy Packers. If we're going straight up by personnel, the Lions cornerback group is much better than the Minnesota Vikings cornerback group. Actually, that was probably the strength of their team, and we saw that through the first 3 quarters against the Chicago Bears. And we'd be in a really good spot against the Green Bay Packers because we have those veterans. We can go to zone. We can disguise things because they're really good cornerbacks. We can rely upon them. But the real question now is, are they going to be healthy? So if these guys aren't healthy for week 2, which it looks like they may not be, maybe will the Lions go to more zone? That will ultimately put more pressure on the linebackers, which we're going to get to a little bit later. But regardless of who the cornerbacks are out there in coverage, one of the biggest keys for these cornerbacks are going to be to tackle. All right, they want to look for flat routes, short route screens, all these little bubbles to the outside. Setting the edge not only is important for linebackers and defensive ends, but it's about those cornerbacks being able to come up and make tackles. Matt Patricia doesn't bring in corners that can't make tackles. He won't do it. All right, he's already talked about Deion Sanders. He said, hey, look, how about you go out there and make a tackle and help us win the game? All right. So Matt Patricia wants his corners to be able to tackle, and we're going to have to see that. And I have confidence in these corners, all right? No matter who's out there, I think all the corners that we do have currently on the roster can tackle. But that is going to be a huge aspect in this game against Green Bay. Hopefully they can get healthy. As of now, we have no update on their status. And if you guys want to hear more about that, I do a video I just uploaded, so you can check out that other one. And finally, fakes. Like I said before, discipline, hard counts, fake screens. You have to be disciplined and stay and play your role. Don't get out of role, because once you do, Aaron Rodgers will take advantage. He's a smart quarterback. He's an older quarterback. He sees everything, okay? You cannot be out of position. The Vikings did a great job, for the most part, of not getting out of position, and it shut down a lot of those plays. A lot of misdirection, a lot of fake screens. It shut them down because the linebackers were disciplined. They stayed home, and they stayed to their responsibility. Same thing with their DNs. But if the Lions don't do that, you're going to see some big plays given up that should have been avoided. Now, let's move on to the Lions' strategy defensively. So that's the Packers. That's what they like to do. Now let's talk about what the Lions can do defensively, where they may have an advantage and what they need to be able to do. First off, let's start with blitzing. It's one of the most popular things because everybody likes blitzing. The Vikings are not afraid to blitz. We don't blitz the most, but people love blitzing, so let's talk about it. Where do you have the most success against Green Bay when it comes to blitzing? Mid blitzes, inside blitzes, blitzing from the interior, delayed blitzes like Jared Davis used to do last year. That's where I see the most success coming for the Lions if they're going to bring pressure on the quarterback. Now, sure, you can mix it up to the outside, of course, but bringing pressure on the inside seems to be the most effective on Aaron Rodgers to force him to take some shots that maybe aren't there, force the ball out quickly. And it seems like in the inside, you're able to attack really well. You're seeming able to blow up those. The offensive linemen don't always have the best recognition. Sometimes you can blow up the running back and you can get to the quarterback there. So if you're going to blitz, blitzing from the inside, I would encourage is probably the best way to do it. Outside blitzes are okay and they can work, but you have to keep in mind with a veteran like Aaron Rodgers, you're not facing Trubisky. No hate to Trubisky, but you're not. You're facing Rodgers. He will see that. He will sense the blitz and he will make a play with it. If you blitz off the right side, most of the time he's going back to that right side. That's like one of the most common things you see with quarterbacks is attack where the blitz is coming from. Wherever the pressure is coming from, usually go that way because that's where the defense is weak. That's where they're light because they're trying to come that way. If you throw it back that way, there's usually less defenders there. So what do you have to do in return? You have to take away that first look. If you're blitzing, your goal is to get there really quick so he doesn't get to scan the field all day. So if you're going to blitz from the outside, you must cover those tracks up quick. Whether that's a linebacker or a safety coming down to take away whatever route it is, a lot of times, if you're blitzing from one side, he's going to look for flats and out routes to that same side that you came from. So you need to jump on that as quick as possible and take that first look away. And then hopefully the pressure is there by then because once he looks back, obviously there's going to be someone open. So you need to be able to take that away quick. So if you're going to blitz, blitzing from the inside is the best. But if you do blitz from the outside, you just have to take it away, okay? You have to take away that first look as best as possible, get over there very, very fast. The thing that I saw, the big mistake with Minnesota, which is the big mistake in general, is bringing both linebackers. Okay, Minnesota plays a 4-3, more 4-3 defense, sometimes 2 linebackers out there. Obviously, it always changes, but they play more 4 defensive linemen than we do. We play a lot of times 3 defensive linemen, which I think is actually going to end up being an advantage for us, having more linebackers on field against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, especially knowing now that Jimmy Collins is not going to be suspended. Thank goodness. He's probably going to be on the field. That's going to be huge. But for the Minnesota Vikings, they run a lot of 4 defensive lineman sets, and I think I have a great example to show you here. All right, boom. So you see it on the screen right now. This is the play we're talking about. This is a 3rd and 7. The Green Bay Packers need to get a first down here. You can see what the Vikings are rocking with. See the Vikings on the field. The Packers are looking to spread them out. They have 4 weapons. They have 3 receivers on the bottom. They have 1 on the top. Aaron Rodgers in the gun. They also have a running back. I think it's Aaron Jones. I can't tell because I'm not looking at the picture right now. But he has a running back to his side. And now look at the Vikings defense. They're going to play 2 deep safeties. This is the problem here. They're playing 2 deep safeties. Okay, and you have 1 linebacker over the middle that is going to be responsible for the running back because you're in man-to-man defense. Nothing wrong with playing man, but you're in man here. Okay, you're in man defense. Rodgers may realize that. It looks like he does because the linebacker is going to man up with the running back. I saw this multiple times happen. Multiple times. That's why I'm pointing this play out specifically. You have 2 deep safeties. You're manning up everywhere else. So basically, you're putting it on rookie young cornerbacks that aren't proven at all to stop this play. All of a sudden, your wide receivers have the leverage. Your wide receivers have the leverage in this one because it's very difficult to play straight up against guys like Devontae Adams. So that's exactly what you're going to see here. All right, you got 3 receivers at the bottom, all man-to-man. And once Aaron Rodgers snaps it, the linebacker over the middle must respect that running back can go out for a route. So he has to stay home with him. And because of that, it leaves the inside, right, what would be tacking over the middle like a slant, which you're going to see one player run a slant here. It leaves that open. So what the players have to do on this 3rd and 7 is make sure they take that away. Their responsibility is, hey, we can't allow these dragging routes because, again, you're man-to-man. Crossing routes kill man-to-man. We've talked about this. So you have to make sure you take that away. But once you do that with no help because there's 3 options out here, you're going to be giving up leverage to the outside, which is exactly where Aaron Rodgers attacks with the out route. Easy. It's easy money. Easy money. I think it's Allen Lazard. Out route, first down, boom. Now, because the Vikings play 4 defensive linemen, they can be limited here. Now, what the Lions can do differently is have a 2nd linebacker over the middle. The Lions are a team that has probably a better defensive tackle right now because the injuries with the Vikings and the opting outs and whatever. With the Lions defensive line, with Danny Shelton, Nick Williams, those guys over the middle, Trey Flowers, they're probably going to be in a better situation. I think they have the advantage here because with 3 defensive linemen, you could have 2 linebackers over the middle, still play your 2 deep safeties. Okay, because that's 3, 5, 7, and you can line up man-to-man with the rest. Okay, and now you have 2 linebackers over the middle. So one of those linebackers can be responsible to take that running back away, but your other linebacker can sit over the middle, kind of spy. You need to have at least 1 linebacker over the middle in these situations if you're playing man-to-man, because if you're not going to get the quarterback right away, he will attack with crossing routes. And if your cornerbacks play the crossing routes, all of a sudden they're giving up the outside. That's what happens here. A couple crosses, a couple outside, and boom, you're confused. So with the linebacker over the middle, could be like a guy like Jamie Collins, Giant to buy, sitting over the middle, he could take away that first look for Rodgers. He could take away that first look over the middle, which would be the cross. And because of that, it allows the cornerbacks on the outside to get more outside leverage and force it back inside towards the linebacker. That is where the Lions can have an advantage because they're only having 3 defensive linemen for the most part. So that is one place you have to look. Okay, that is just one example I want to show you that I saw a lot. So what are the keys to stopping this offense? Outside linebackers. Linebackers in general. Eric Kendrick was huge. Linebackers in general need to be good. Interior linebackers need to be good in coverage over the middle, especially in zone. If we dropped more zone because we have limited cornerbacks, they need to be great. They weren't great for Minnesota either. Okay, a lot of miscommunication there, a lot of bad things. Some good, some bad. But you need to be good for your linebackers in general. Your linebackers are probably the biggest part of this defense going into this game, especially the outside. And the reason I say outside is because also the defensive end setting the edge. They want to get to the outside. You must set the edge. Following motions, just keeping an eye on it. Whether you're man or zone, whatever your responsibility is, make sure you understand where the motions are and where they're going, because they will set up things a lot of the time. Linebackers, tight ends are going to try to get advantage there. I think we will actually be fine. I think we're going to be better in this game than we were against Chicago and Jimmy Graham. I think we're going to be better here. It would be nice to have J-Ryan Curse, but I think we'll be better here just because of the talent level. There was few between the tackle rushes here. Now, here's a little note that I made that I just picked up. I don't know if anybody else did. I didn't see a single play action out of the I form on a fake toss. Basically, what I'm saying here is the Packers would do 2 things. They would toss it out of the I form, or they would go play action handoff or a handoff. However, they would not do a play action toss. So If it looks like he's going to toss it, he's going to toss it. He ain't play action that. Just a little note that I picked up, just something really small that maybe you could check out for when we watch the game. We'll see if that's the same thing. But again, few between the tackles running, and I think against the Lions, we could actually be better at stopping the inside. I know we were struggling against the Bears, but the Bears really gashed us there. That's a place that we need to improve. But based on personnel alone, I think our personnel, honestly, in the inside of the defense line may be better than what the Vikings had going into that. And of course, finally, the cornerbacks are the key, because you're facing Aaron Rodgers and you're facing Devontae Adams. Now, aside from that, they don't have the best weapons. We saw multiple drops from Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and it made Rodgers mad. He dropped like a 60-yard bomb that was right on him. Look, they're not the best receivers. They're not going to get the most separation. But if we're completely injured and we're completely depleted and we go in there with Tony McRae, Darryl Roberts, and Amani as our top three, we're going to have problems, okay? We need at least Oku to get healthy. Someone needs to get back out there to help us out. So that is kind of the strategy heading into this game for the Detroit Lions, at least part one defensively. If there's more things that you want me to break into, I definitely can, but that's just kind of how I'm looking at the defensive side of things. There will be more parts to this. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out. Look at all these cool people. Look at all these cool Hall of Fame, All-Pro, and patrons. You guys are so awesome. Look how interesting. That's an interesting name. I've never seen one like that. I'm not saying that one out loud. We got some cool stuff here, man. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys are awesome. You guys want to be part of this? Click the join button. I appreciate you guys. Look, man, you guys are cool, man. I see you. Oh, I see you're not sneak. I see you down there, my boy.